Oh, well, that's interesting.
Well, it seems like Glitch is back at it again with one of these special events. Hey everybody, it's been a while since I last uploaded, and I can imagine the wait for me to come back was incredibly grueling for you all. So before I get into the actual video itself, I have to address what I've been doing since then. Okay, so if you guys didn't know, I made a post saying that I was going to release 3 main videos
Last year.
and as you can see right now, that didn't happen. So for this video you guys are watching right now, originally I was going to talk about my thoughts for last year's GlitchX event. However, after thinking about it,
And where I was in the year?
is that it was better for me to talk about this recent GlitchX event rather than the old one, and
Let me tell you.
that the script for this video was better from a writing perspective than the original ever was. Oh my god. Do you want to know how long I spent on the old script? A year and a half. So when I saw this community post from Glitch about an event
Last year.
my brain exploded. Because while yes, I was happy that another one was happening, but it also felt
Like a bullet got shot straight through my heart.
Since it felt like all my hard work was for nothing for the other GlitchX video I was going to be doing, which was of 2023. Regardless, I gritted my teeth, buckled myself down into my chair, and started writing away, or typing, whatever you want to call it. So, without further ado, I present to you my thoughts on GlitchX 2024.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode on Logan's Game On. Welcome to Logan's Game On, and today we have a very special video for you guys today. Now, this is normally not the type of video that I do, but I usually do video games or reaction video. However, I thought I'd take a step back and talk about Glitch, or more specifically, Glitch Productions. Now, if you don't know who Glitch are, they are a 3D independent animation studio who are responsible for making shows such as Metarunner, Murder Drones, and the Gaslight District, which you guys have seen me react to on this channel before. And if you want to go to those videos as well, I'll leave a link down in my bio so you guys can check them out. But also go support the creators themselves. Also consider subscribing to my channel because it always helps my channel out. Also, the algorithm knows that you guys like these videos. Yeah, pointing to you. Yeah, no, but consider please helping me out. Subscribe if you can. Anyway, we're not going to be talking about those shows today. Although they are great, I won't lie. We're going to be talking about Glitch's, annual 2-year event? I guess, I don't know if they're going to do it in 2025. It's a gamble. I don't know, but I would really love it if they did. We're going to be talking about GlitchX 2024 event. Now, this is going to be a very different experience from the live stream that was
2023's event.
Alas, I digress. This time it's going to be very much like a Nintendo Direct, and much like a Direct, it's going to show off a lot of those creative projects that have amassed around the globe that were shown off a year beforehand. Also, a quick thing I wanted to mention before starting the video again is that a lot of the information that I will be spouting in this video is, not as now as when I wrote it. Since 2025 had ushered in new stuff that had come up for most of these shows and the people behind them, which I will talk about in their specific sections later on. Anyway, let's get back to the video. So, first thing that we're going to be talking about is, drumroll please, Indie Spotlights! But yeah, we're going to be talking about the Indie Spotlights in this event. How this is going to be going down is that I'm going to be talking about them one by one, sprinkle in a brief summary, share my thoughts about each of these projects from a scaling of 1 to 10. 1 being the thing I don't want to watch as much and am not really interested in, and 10 being the thing I absolutely have the
Highest on my priority list. Don't get it twisted.
Also, links to these channels who are housing these amazing projects is in the link in the description box below. So, without further ado, let's get into our first spotlight. So, the story of Port by the Sea follows 2 kids, Port, Umi, and their pet crab, Jolly Roger, as they set forth on an adventure to pick up the fallen pieces of a broken moon in order to prevent the Titan Tiamat, that's a tongue twister, from escaping and flooding the entire world. Now, initially, when this pilot came to YouTube, I immediately saw a vibe, for me at least, as a cartoony nerd, it immediately gave me vibes to, Craig of the Creek, Steven Universe, a lot of the other shows that have, like similar head shape to this one. Very cartoonish, like, But yeah, no. Based on the summary alone, I'm already hooked. Now if I had to give the show a rating, I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10. Yeah, no, an 8 out of 10. Just purely because for this as the opener, it didn't really give me much to go off of besides the synopsis and everything else. But other than that, I think the world's very colorful, and I'd like to see more from the mind of Jordan Whitman, especially even if it's not this show. But I'd still love to see more Port of the Sea content, unless I'm missing any tweets or anything to go off of for an episode 2. I don't know. I want to see more from Jordan. I'm pretty sure everyone else does as well, for the fans who are Port of the Sea. But enough about that. Let's get into our next spotlight. This story follows a girl named Atlas as she tries to fulfill her dream of exploring the stars by stealing a spaceship. But unfortunately, she manages to bring along an alien named Atmosphere. And when she tries to bring him home, it's already too late, and they get tossed around from each universe to universe. And that is just the basic summary of the story of Atlas and the Stars. And there's so much other stuff. There's layers. It's like Shrek, onions and ogres. My analogy is not perfect, but whatever. Also, off the bat, I want to mention that I love the animation. The story is absolutely fire. And I didn't know this when I wrote it, but apparently this whole animation was done by Miranda Animations herself. So I can't even imagine must have taken a lot of time. As much of an animation nerd I am, this is incredible. This is an incredible feat. So yeah, just no props to her. She knocked it out of the park. 9 out of 10. Again, my bias is showing, but I actually love this pilot. Also, if you love a lot of space stuff, I recommend go checking out Atlas and the Stars. It's a really good pilot. And just if you want to have a fun space-time adventure, go check out that pilot. I recommend go checking it out if you love space stuff. Yeah, consider giving Miranda all the love and support. I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Let's get into the next one. An alien sci-fi romp from the minds of Annie Ortiz and Adam Tatongi. And the story of their show is essentially a bunch of bad guys, how do I phrase this, are absolutely terrible at their jobs. Now, of course, I'm exaggerating about the whole premise. As far as I can tell, this project was like a Kickstarter, which got fully funded by the time I'm recording this. Great for them. The pilot is actually set to drop this year, actually. However, if you guys want to find more Horizonauts content, they made a game. Go check out the demo on Newgrounds. From what I heard about the game, it's supposed to be like a 2D running game that's based on the world of the show for promotion of the pilot. Bottom line, it's cool. And the style of the show is reminiscent to Atlas and the Stars. It's very space coded and gives me vibes more so to shows like Invader Zim. But if I had to give the show a rating, I'd give it 7 out of 10. I don't know. I think it's just because Horizonauts does not give that it doesn't trigger that itch in my brain that okay.
Oh yeah, no, I want to watch Horizonauts. Yeah,
I don't know why I gave myself that voice, but it doesn't reach that trigger in my brain that makes me want to watch the show. It's just the way it was presented in GlitchX. I don't know. It left a lot to be desired, and that's completely fine. Animation takes a very long time for anybody to do, and I don't have a problem with that. For me, I don't know. It just the way it was presented. Don't get me wrong. The style of the show is very cool. It's very cool. I love it. I love it so much. But it just doesn't reach that trigger inside my heart for a lot of these indie animated shows like Lackadaisy, Amazing Digital Circus. The press behind those it was very rampant about what the show was going to be, and it reached all the trigger dopamine stuff in my brain. I don't know, and maybe the pilot will change my mind about my opinion of what it's supposed to be. But yeah, no, we'll just have to see. Enough about that. Let's get on to our next spotlight. A story centered around a duo of mercenaries named Shrike and Beams, who navigate the galaxy taking on certain kind of jobs. I don't know why I did that. But as for my thoughts about this spotlight in particular, The show looks interesting. From what I've heard, there's like 4 episodes out on their channel right now, with episode 5 currently be on the way, so correct me if I'm wrong about that as well. I like the rigid animation style of the show. Looks very interesting. The flow to it actually looks really incredible from what I've seen, especially on GlitchX, which from when they showcased the trailer. Voice acting looks top notch. But yeah, no, everything about it looks really good. I've always loved the space theme, as you can probably guess, with Atlas and the Stars, which I've already watched. Not on the channel, but I don't know if I'll make a reaction to it. I don't know, you guys let me know about that. Monkey Wrench honestly looks pretty cool. I might have to check it out on the channel before. Let me know if you guys want to react to Monkey Wrench. I don't know. My rating for this show is a 9 out of 10. What can I say? I guess it just appeals to me. I don't know. Fight me in the comments, if you will. Let's get on to our next spotlight. A story about demons, devotion, and the end of an era. This Kickstarter stars Axel, who is a demon sentinel rookie in training who takes on a job of hunting down a hellhound. And unfortunately, he does not want to go alone, so he drags his friends along with him. Yay! Of course, I'm joking. That's literally the summary of this. But, other than me joking around, my thoughts about this, let's just kind of get the ball rolling. The initial concept of this, when it was presented in GlitchX, it gave me, like, comic fan dub kind of feel. And, I guess kind of, like, webtoon kind of comics. Yeah, that's what I was going for. Just from the animation alone, that's kind of what it gives me, like, a comic fan dub kind of feel. Sorry for those who might be against what I have to say. That's just what the animation reminds me of. But going back to my thoughts, I really love the character designs. I think they look phenomenal. Honestly, I really hope this project gets fully funded, and I really hope the Kickstarter does very well for it to we have an official pilot episode. Because I'm gonna be so serious with you guys right now. I genuinely do believe that this project has the potential to be something much greater. And as coming from someone who loves animation as much as the next person, it's incredible what people have done, like, for the whole industry. The industry right now is not doing the best, at least for people who want to have their productions on the big screen. But YouTube has provided a place for people to post their animations, fan stuff, but also to create something new and completely original. And I think that Heathens by StudioPsycho is one of those projects, something that's able to stand on its own. And I really think that the fan base behind this will be tremendous. I just really hope that this gets funded. As for my rating for the Spotlight, it actually might surprise you. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. Or maybe a 9, actually. I don't know. If I say 10 out of 10, my bias will be showing. But other than that, like, that's my rating. Yeah, sound design also looks pretty good. It reminds me of, like, a Western kind of feel. If I remember correctly, I haven't seen it in a long time. But enough about me spouting. On to the next Spotlight. A story about a fantasy real estate business starring a made-up creature called a manticore named Molly and a dragon named Cleveland. And their whole job, essentially, is to help all sorts of creatures find certain dungeons that they are comfortable with or they want to use for their
evil plans.
I don't know why I did that. But yeah, that's essentially the whole summary of what this whole show is about. And as for my initial thoughts of what this was, now, I have watched the pilot before Dungeon Flippers, and I gotta say, without a doubt, I love the animation on this project. Getting back to my original thought, where does this world actually take place? It's in a place called Splendor. Sorry, I had to add a little reverb, but, back to what I was saying before. Again, I've stated this before, I love the animation, and just honestly, the voices in the cast, they're just very fun, they're very engaging. This world that is, like, very fantasy oriented with all its magical hijinks that ensues, it's just something that makes me enjoy this show even more. And honestly, it just puts a smile on my face. I just can't help but love this thing. But yeah, no, as for my rating of, like, this show in particular, I think I'm gonna do it. I give it a 10 out of 10. And you guys can't tell me otherwise. This is my channel and this is my... Say it with me, everyone. Opinion. I don't know. It's Dungeon Flippers. It scratches that itch in my brain that I have for most of these indie cartoons, especially for how it was presented in GlitchX. It surprised me. It gave me more to what this world wanted it to be, and this is just a show that lets it be whatever it wants it to be. It does what it wants, and I love it for that. That's so cool, and I love that they're trying to do more with the world, especially from that little teaser we got. If they produce another episode, make sure to let me know if you guys want me to react to it in the comments below. With that being said, let's get on to our next spotlight. A 2D 3D animated story about humanity's leap towards multi-planet existence and the ever so evolving connection with a powerful AI. Ooh, mysterious. This story is not only a journey of curiosity,
Survival.
and not to mention, how could I ever forget, the redefined concept of humans inside an interconnected universe. Now, much like the other shows that I've talked about, like Atlas and the Stars, as much of the other spotlights of these like space shows, Cosmic Traveler stars the character of Luke, and among him are his two robotic friends, Arya and Amber, as they set off on an adventure to discover why Earth has lost contact with the outside world. Who knows at this point? That's the mystery. Now, on to my thoughts about Cosmic Travelers. Okay, first off, I'm going to say this. I love that this has a mix of like 2D to 3D elements to it. I always love it when shows have like a mix like that. It's so entertaining, and I love it so much. Not to mention the style of this animation. It gives me vibes to like stuff like Studio Ghibli films, and like that's always incredible. I love Ponyo, I love Spirited Away, and a lot more others. I'm forgetful this time. I don't exactly know what other ones exist. I know there's that new one that came out. I forget what it's called. The new like Studio Ghibli stuff. And can I just say, this animation in just general, it looks so good. Like I can't wrap my head around it. It's so crazy. Like I can't be the only one who saw this on GlitchX and was just like that. My mind is blown. But other than that, I cannot actually wait for this project to come out. I think it's going to be incredible. As for my rating, 10 out of 10. I really have no problems with the spotlight. I think the animation was incredible, especially from Starspeed Studios. Like, when this comes out, I better feel all the dopamine triggers hit my brain at the same time. I cannot wait for this project to come out, but enough of me spouting. Let's get on to our next spotlight. A story about an 11-year-old child named Gogo Matsumoto, who travels with her family to Death Island to compete in Emperor Koro's tournament. However, in all the 50 years that this tournament has gone on, no human has ever actually won against a demon competitor, since all of them have very absurd powers, which is a bit unfair. So I don't know, that might count for something, but okay. And when you look at Gogo, the demons and I thought the same thing.
There's no way this child could, like, defeat a demon in a ring.
But, they were wrong. Now, aside from that very tonal shift, I'm actually going to be talking about before my thoughts. So, by the time I wrote the script, I had already seen both 2 episodes, which I guess is 3 now since episode 3 has come out, and that's kind of what the spotlight was about, and this is what I meant by things changing or being not as relevant anymore. So, that's basically it. I think there's a couple more, but aside from this, in this one particular, it's just 3 episodes now that I've reacted to, so there's that. And speaking of those 3 episodes, which, again, all 3 episodes I actually have reacted to, and I gotta say, they were incredibly good, and honestly, the animation reminds me a lot of those, like, not shonen anime, but like all this like old anime in the 80s and 90s with like all those like commercials back in the day. It also just features a lot of like heavy slapstick comedy and like over-exaggerated expressions. I think this is really fantastic, and you know what? I cannot wait to see Speedoru's efforts down the line in future episodes, so I can't wait to see it. As for my rating of this is gonna be a 10 out of 10. I Can't say anything really more about it. You know what? You know what it is? It's the comedy that gets me. I honestly love the comedy in this, and I think that dragged me towards it. On top of the note that I've seen many people react to it, and I have seen it myself. It just spoke to me in a lot of ways, like a lot of these other animations do. But in this time, it's more so the comedy aspect that got me, because, I mean, who doesn't like a good laugh? Am I right? Anybody? Hello? Let's get on to the next one. This story is a sci-fi adventure where the very memory of humanity is fading, and thanks to an intergalactic war, the Earth is completely wiped out, and the whole concept of sharing meals together no longer exists in this universe. I don't know why that's a thing, but apparently it's something in the show that's very contextually important. Who's to say? I don't know. To mention the whole plot, but to mention the characters as well, stars a character named Ken, who is a chef who was raised by aliens. A cyborg named Sila, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. She is the pilot of a ship called the Serrano, which is, yeah, named after a pepper. Scientist Ada, mechanic Eloy, computer hacker Maud, and a mechanoid named Nexus, as they try to reunite the universe. Now, for my thoughts on this little project. The synopsis for this animation is, how should I put this? Very interesting. And honestly, this reminds me of a lot of like fan films, like I would find at like a film festival, or like somewhere deep in like the deepest reaches of YouTube. From what they said in the spotlight, this whole project was supposed to have like a mix of stuff from like Star Trek, Dungeons and Dragons, and among all, Treasure Planet. And based on what I've seen, honestly, like they've nailed it. But you know, overall, I'd probably give this maybe like a 7 out of 10. I think just purely because, I don't know, I've seen a lot of sci-fi stuff throughout this whole GlitchX event, and me talking about the spotlights, I've seen like maybe like 4 examples of like sci-fi stuff, and I don't know, I don't know, I no disrespect to the creation of this, but I mean, it has a cozy feel, I can give it that. I mean, I like it. I guess with that being said, let's get on to our next one. A short-form found footage style sci-fi animated series that is primarily on TikTok and YouTube, and they are currently trying to raise funds for their Kickstarter. I have to remember, because it's been like a year since I wrote this script. Yeah, they need to still have funds for their pilot. Okay, going off topic. My thoughts on this so far. I'll be honest, when it comes to the animation of Enceladus V, I like it, but I actually kind of want to go through the process of how I found this channel, that housing a lot of these shorts to begin with for Enceladus V. This channel right here, you're probably going to see it on screen, is actually the confirmed channel that houses this kind of stuff. Originally for me, I thought it was fake, so I don't think people would steal their actual content. This looks like it took an actual long time. And I don't know, I just got confused, but that's besides the point. Besides that, the animation looks really cool. Although I do like mecha stuff, so I actually might check this out at a later time. But overall, my rating for Enceladus V is it's a 6 out of 10. I'm sorry. Look, mecha stuff is cool for me, but given the repetitiveness in this GlitchX event, there has been multiple sci-fi stuff, especially with my last segment with Spice Frontier. There's a lot of sci-fi stuff, and even if with the mecha thing, like, sure, it's cool, but they're in space. Come on. No. I'm going to be completely guilt-free. It is all out of my system. And I'm going to be honest. I think it looks cool. I don't know. Short-form stuff is not my simple forte. I just don't enjoy it as much as other, like, longer animation. Maybe I'll change my mind. On to our last and final spotlight. A story about a girl named Harmony who goes on wild adventures into a realm of enchantment that is shrouded in mystery. This series is a blend of cosmic craziness, weird fiction, and to top it all off, the playful nostalgia of classic Saturday morning cartoons from the 80s and 90s. Much like, I don't know, maybe Scooby-Doo? Okay, so first, let's just get into the nitty-gritty. Even though these episodes are relatively short, The animation looks absolutely spectacular. I cannot stress that enough. You know, I wasn't expecting to be blown away this much, to be honest. The visuals, I think, are a real catch when it comes down to the series. The story's actually pretty cool as well. Not to mention, it had enough stakes in order for me to actually watch the whole dang series. So that's a plus. But yeah, no, overall, I'd give this project a 7 out of 10. And I'll tell you why. Much like how I said in Enceladus V, short form content is, you know, it's not my forte. But I'll be honest, I think for this one, I made more of an effort to check it out. This was, again, I'd written the script about a year ago, and this is, I think, when House on the Outlands had fewer episodes, and I didn't really get a feel of the world. But now that I have reacted to it, I can confidently say that if you love horror adjacent stuff, fiction, it has that. The visuals give it that flavor that I think makes it stand out from most cartoons, given that it is like a short form project. But yeah, no, I really found myself enjoying it. But enough about the indie spotlights. Let's get on to our next segment, which is... Alrighty, next we have the bumper segments with the characters from the Amazing Digital Circus and Murder Drones. And we're going to be talking about it, courtesy of my little logo here. I'm going to give some context before we get into the whole bumper segment, or what the heck I'm even talking about. The indie bumpers I'm talking about are the little intermissions between all the indie spotlight segments that I've talked about so far of the GlitchX event, which was the main focal point of everything. So they did like cute little animation stuff about it. It's just little fun stuff, and I want to talk about it. So we're going to get into that really quick. So let's get into our first one. Okay, so our first bumper deals with Kane talking to Pomni about all the animation that was played thus far, and how it was very cool. Essentially breaking the fourth wall, he tells us, the viewers, that if we're interested in creating the art, that we got this, and we have the drive and potential to create something absolutely magical.
Oh, please, Ken, I can make that drawing in like 5 minutes.
Well, for 57 seconds, this does not look bad. It doesn't look like the original, like I showed in the beginning, well, of this whole segment in general. But, yeah, it actually, now that I'm looking at it, like, closer, I mean, I don't know if you guys can see it, doesn't look actually that half bad. But yeah, enough about me yapping. Let's get on with the video. Anyway, next we have Ed and Uzi, who are really impressed about the cartoon shown thus far, while also revealing that they have their own quote-unquote pilot called The Deathning. Concept artist courtesy of N, and he says, and I quote, "Death by cuteness." How morbid. Alrighty then, the last and final bumper has Jay talking to V about how creativity is not as easy to corporate because the artists want to make it look good, and complaining how she will never climb the capitalism ladder at this rate, to which they have a bit of banter. Then Jay goes on about how this animation work is so complex, it's very costly, and requires
Meticulous perfection.
and just how she can't understand how it can take weeks to months to make a few seconds of animation. V says less rich. Jay goes on a whole tirade of the upfront cost versus the promise of return is so financially risky. She gets confused by V's comment, gets suspicious, and goes off stage to attack Uzi and Ann. Oh yeah, so there was another bumper segment that I forgot to mention because it didn't really add anything majorly important towards the event in general. It just served as like a thank you for watching the event, and honestly just a message to go support the original creators for their amazing projects shown during this event. And which you should go do, by the way, because they've spent a lot of time making stuff, or making their projects in general, so you should go support them. It would really help them out. I'm not just saying that for high praises, genuinely, you should go check them out. I left their links in the description box below, which you guys already know, so I don't have to say anything more about that. Other than that, just Ragatha and Jax were there for just the commentary for the end of the event. That's pretty much it. With the whole Indie Bumper segment all and done with, I only have one thing left to say. It takes a long time to make this stuff look good. Now, let's get into the VA segment. Alright, next I'm going to be talking about my favorite part of the GlitchX event, which was the VA segment that had Michael Kovac, who is playing Jax, and End, Lizzie Freeman, who voices Pomni, and Elsie Lovelock, who voices Uzi, all doing different kinds of skits asked by some of the viewers in this post shown right here that I shared at the beginning of this video. Yeah, so I'm going to be sharing the skits that I liked from the little segment. But before I get into that, I actually had posted my own little scenario for funsies to get picked. Hold on, let me find it. Okay, it's not that. Definitely not that. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, here it is. To be perfectly honest, I am so glad I wasn't chosen because I would probably die of embarrassment if I was. And the situation in general wasn't really that interesting looking back on it. Alright, now if I can have you guys lend an ear, for I'm about to talk about some of the skits that stood out to me, particularly. The airplane song between N and Uzi, it was pretty funny. One, I gotta give a shout out to an animator, Salty Pepper, and they make a lot of murder drone stuff. And I saw an animation of that, of the airplane song with N and Uzi, and that kind of just made me giggle. So that was really interesting to watch. So go check out Salty Pepper if you have a chance. Let's see what else. And feeling
Topsy-turvy.
it was fun to watch. Can't say the actual word or else YouTube will get my. Let's see what else. Pomni having a mental breakdown over Uzi trying to explain the Five Nights at Freddy's lore. Oh, Pomni, we've all been there before. The tell me why ain't nothing but a heartache part with all the other characters singing. It was an absolute roller coaster ride. I had such nostalgia because I love the original scene from the Brooklyn Nine-Nine, so the fact that they sang it here filled me with such utter joy. What else? Okay, so a lot of you who are, I guess not, are in my age demographic, we are very well versed into the memes category, and a lot of you have heard, "Don't mess with me, I have the power of God and anime on my side." Well, okay, well, I guess I can scream anyway, but whatever. Alright, I have spoken long enough. On to the next thing. Hi, it's me again. Okay, so this interview segment in general was probably
The hardest.
thing I had to rewrite because in my final draft, I had written so many words.
Look at these pages.
It was so painful to write. I spent maybe like a few months trying to figure out what to do, and honestly, I might make a separate video on talking about my visceral thoughts later on, but that's besides the point. We have the interview segment with Olin Rogers, who, if you don't know, had a show on Netflix called Final Space, and his own indie pilot right here on YouTube called Godspeed. To sum up what happened in this interview, the Glitchy Boys talked with Olin about how Final Space started. In his own words, he said it was originally a terrible, awful cartoon, quotation marks, called Gary Space. And at the time, he did the best with what he had, and honestly, I relate to that experience to some degree when I do YouTube videos. I'm not really as popular as many other content creators. I'm not even like in the top 100. But I do genuinely try my best to make stuff you guys can watch and enjoy, and stuff that I enjoy watching and making. That's what's fun about it.
He then goes on to talk about his fascination with animation ever since things like Toonami or Dragon Ball Z. Olin approached a company called Newform Digital that worked with a few other creators on YouTube, so he decided to take a shot in the dark and pitch the idea of Final Space to an executive, which were pretty much pictures of Gary and Mooncake, who, if you don't know, are characters from Olin's Final Space. And it surprisingly worked. It got greenlit, and I'm just sitting here shocked at how lucky this man was to get approved. Newform gave Olin a small amount of money to start out, and Newform decided to reach out to an Australian animator who was none other than Joe Brum, the creator of Bluey.
I'm sorry, what? Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. That genuinely surprised me when Olin mentioned it in the video.
Along with Joe Brum, Olin managed to make a pilot for Final Space, and it gained so much popularity online, he actually got approached by entertainment companies such as Lionsgate, Adult Swim, and etc. You get the whole gist. This was like a dream come true moment for Olin when his ideas started to get recognized. As a result of this exposure, he went out to LA and started pitching his idea around for Final Space as a show. He went to Netflix, who initially rejected his idea because they had already seen the whole YouTuber trying to pitch a show shtick, plus he didn't really have anything to show for it. After that day, it really started to pick up for Olin, as he started pitching in boardrooms thanks to Conoco, who Olin brought in for their resources and setting up pitches for him. It was essentially a whole back and forth thing in LA for these pitches in general, which could happen at any moment, and I gotta say, this would probably kill me, I'm not gonna lie. Even like after he sold the show, he asked the important question of when is the show gonna actually start? It was essentially a waiting period for around 3 months. And he didn't have any representatives, no agent, no manager, lawyer, nada, nothing, no zilch, zero, nothing. Eventually, he did get a rep, a lawyer. They essentially said that everyone had already made their deal and you're gonna get the scraps, which essentially meant that they were going to try and get a good deal for Olin. Although, as things turn out in the end, things are not going to be as simple as just that. Also, before I continue, I just want to say that I commend Olin for pushing through everything that happened to him to have his creation come into being. Honestly, if I was in his shoes, even as a new creator, I would be pretty pissed if I had to go through all that waiting.
To not even get an answer.
That straight up sucks. It's not great. Also, at this time, Olin was still doing YouTube for the time being, while he was still trying to figure out how, essentially everything else out for his show. He desperately wanted to talk about the show in some way until his agent came up with the idea to leak it. Now, I'm going to say this from the bottom of my heart. I don't condone leaking information. It's wrong, and it ruins the anticipation for something to be released. Not to mention, it's been happening to other fandoms when it comes to any upcoming things for, cartoon media. Has been up to. Essentially, the interview continued on, and Olin mostly talked about the same waiting process as before, and they told him to be a good partner and just wait over and over again. It was practically a tug-of-war competition between the companies who would be able to make Final Space a reality.
Than actually focusing on the show itself.
Which is so messed up in so many ways that I'm not going to get into right now. According to Olin, he said that Season 2 for Final Space was the hardest to create because of all the rounds of notes in each script from the executives who valued the comedy of the show over pretty much everything else. That wasn't what the show was about, and we'll get into that later. To me, I felt like he was stuck in limbo for the longest time in a sense that this project was being changed by so many people that it never really felt like his show anymore, in that he had to hold on to the slivers that he could control. By the time that 13 animatics had been sent in to be animated for Season 2,
the people upstairs thought it might be a good idea to shorten the 13-episode season to 10!
However, they changed their mind again. Olin Rogers had an idea with Final Space that the people in charge changed it to be in their own image and never Olin's. The Glitch Boy said it the best. Art is the expression of a person, and I truly believe that. And the fact that it's not recognized much is very sad to me. People shouldn't warp an artist's creative vision so much to the point where it's not even expressed fully. They should have the ability to have their story told in the way that they want, but I guess that's just how Hollywood works. Olin expressed that when Final Space got cancelled, it felt like he was losing a part of himself, given what moment the characters were at that point in time, which is understandable. Although kind of a power move for getting the novel released for Final Space. Impressive. However, that's when Mr. Rogers' luck would turn when he released his new project, Godspeed. When Final Space ended, he wanted to take that feeling of the show being forgotten and establish that as the story for Godspeed. And that really speaks volume to the fact that this show he wanted to create was essentially destroyed in a sense. So he took that lost and crafted something beautiful with it. Although some people might not understand, I argue that it makes sense for Olin's journey not only as a creator, but as a writer as well. He would want to craft something that didn't have unfair restrictions to what he could do and how it would be done. Let's see, what else? What I want to mention? Oh yeah, he mentioned the deal that Glitch has with Netflix about Digital Circus, but I'm going to explain why he says it's such a big deal. It's because for most Hollywood deals that they strike with companies like Netflix, honestly, it hasn't been done before. They don't usually do it. So because of that structure, it's really hard to get a new deal made until someone breaks the format and paves the way for people to make similar deals, which is exactly why the Glitchy Boys made the deal in the first place. According to the interview, that's pretty much exactly what they said. And then, of course, there comes the question of what does this licensing deal look like? It lets them have control over everything, which is just amazing. That goes from merchandising, like the IPs. Again, I don't know the logistics of it. I'm just explaining what I actually understood from it. Honestly, I just love that the animation is being the first platform to have this deal. As an animation nerd, I absolutely love this for the community as a whole. YouTube is the platform for animation, and as we have projects that are really high quality, have huge audiences, and are generally liked by the public, such as Lackadaisy, or something on the level of
Helluva,
which now is on Amazon now, which is just incredible, and this kind of direction is exactly what I hope to see going forward. Honestly, the way I see it, animation will be saved if more licensing deals like what Glitch did are made. Because like Olin said, it won't result in situations where you have to fight tooth and nail to get the story you want. Now, I will admit that I don't know exactly a lot about this kind of deal in tandem, but I do want to say that, like, everywhere I just look, not on just Glitch's channel, but others channels that have animation on them, it's proof that people want to see so many of these wonderful stories, not just by the comments, but, like, just seeing the interesting stories flourish and come to life. And I am grateful that Olin Rogers, at the end of the interview, he said he provided a lifeline for many upcoming creators with their projects with Kickstarter. Well, that's the end of me talking about the interview. Now, could I have shortened the interview segment to at least a paragraph? Probably, but I also just love learning about what goes on in making animated stuff. I think I find it kind of neat. Sadly, guys, things are coming to an end, and there has been one question that I have yet to answer. What is my final rating for the whole
GlitchX 2024 event.
I loved it so much. 10 out of 10. Yeah, I know, shocker, but come on, guys. I love animation with all my heart. Indie animation, especially. If you guys couldn't guess from how many times I've said it in this video, this event was honestly such a fun ride. Better overall in comparison to the 2023 event, which I won't get into for many reasons. It was shorter, had better pacing, and in my opinion, was straightforward with explaining the details, while also giving the video its time to be fun. Again, not to say that the live stream was terrible, I actually thought it was very informative and how the industry is and the different experiences that come with it. It just felt to me, pardon my words, like it kept
dragging on.
Given how long the video was in hindsight. Speaking of dragging on, I'm gonna end the video here. Just let me switch to my camera feed. Okay, here.
Alright, okay, is the camera work? Yeah, okay. Alright, okay, I'll keep this short because I don't want to, delay you guys any further. I just want to say thank you guys so much for, watching my thoughts on GlitchX 2024. And this video was so frustrating for me. That's, like, the best way I could describe it. It's just... getting this video done was just so frustrating for me because I had to rewrite it and do everything else. I was gonna do a 2023 one and then it just got all over the place. I've already said too much about this. I'm about to get livid. But that's besides the point. I did want to kind of explain why I did this video in the first place, even if it did frustrate me beyond belief. Reason number one, I wanted to be more divisive when it came to my editing style, because for most videos that you guys have seen before, it has usually just been the simple stuff like effects, text, music, the whole shebang. But I never really did anything more decisive than that. It's always just been, at bare minimum, simple. And I really wanted to change that, and hopefully this video was more enjoyable, I guess, to watch. I'm hoping it is. Second reason is that I really wanted to provide my artistic talent. Those of you who haven't been aware this whole time, I've been talking more about animation, and if I'm so passionate about it, it means I naturally did some myself, which you guys can also see in this video if you pay attention. Just saying. I really liked doing these little like animation bits for the videos. I really wanted to test my skill and really be more actively artistic in this video. And I'm really glad I was able to do that. This is a topic that I'm probably going to share in my next video. This is going to be probably my second to last video I'm going to be posting for at least for a little bit. And don't worry, I'm not going away. But I am wanting to focus more on other stuff. So I probably won't be around after my last video will be out. But you'll just have to wait and see. But I did want to just say thank you guys so much for watching. And if you guys haven't already, please subscribe, like, share this video with a friend, and hit the notification bell in the upper right hand corner of your screen so you guys don't miss an upload coming to my channel. I thank you guys so much for watching, and this has been Logan's Game On, signing off. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!